right, well, welcome back, and it was a great chance to talk about what God has done, the lives of these women, some great organizations. So we're going to shift gears, and we're going to focus on the men, one of the organizations that's so passionate in my heart. I know it will be to yours, too, if you don't know much about them, and that's the Loving Hands Ministry. They're based out of Palmetto. They have a campus in Dade City. They have tons of activities elsewhere, and we have a great guest on with us to talk about that organization and some of the things that they have coming up. Keith O'Connor's with us now. Keith, how are you doing?
Doing very good. Thank you, sir. Thank you for having me speak today.
Awesome. Thank you so much. You know, for some folks that don't know much about Loving Hands, give them a quick overview of who you are and what you guys do.
Sure, I'd love to. What we are is we are a 2-year residential discipleship ministry that helps men strictly with drug and alcohol addictions, and we've been doing so for just about almost 35 years now in the community.
And of that, how many men are you basically, I don't want to say treating or assisting or ministering to right now?
We are pretty much full at both of our campuses right now, so I would say right around 18, 19 men.
Wow, that's a lot. Wow. Okay, so talk about your personal experience. Like, how did you end up at Loving Hands, working with them, and how did they minister to you?
Well, I have to say it's definitely a God story. If there's anything, I'm from New York, and we are based in Florida here, obviously, and I'm a musician, and for many, many years of my life, I was pretty much just traveling around New York, living the life of a rock star, if you will. I was trying to live that life of sex, drugs, and rock and roll, and unfortunately, I did a little too well, and it pretty much consumed my life. And I tried everything. I tried, different kinds of programs, secular programs, and nothing just ever seemed to work for me because there was really no foundation in my life. I would do really well for a little while, but then I would do really bad for a while. And I heard about Loving Hands Ministries from some very close people in my family who live down here in Florida, who actually also have a home for women that pretty much do the same thing as men. And they saw Loving Hands come into their church one day, and they kind of knew that I was in my bottom, that I had hit also. Right. So they actually flew back to New York, and they intervened me, knowing what I was going through, and said, listen, you need to basically stop what you're doing and try this ministry, Loving Hands Ministries. And now this is where God's true presence in my life really showed up, because in the moment I was on probation, unfortunately, because I had received a couple of DWIs while driving in New York. So I was on probation, and I told my probation officer that I wanted to leave the state so I can come be a part of this ministry. This is in 2014, December of 2014. And she told me, no, you have to stay here now. You have to stay in New York and finish your probation time. It's pretty much the law. You can't leave the state. And then God showed up, because I had a praying mother, a bunch of prayer warriors on my corner, and I received a phone call from my probation officer just a few days later with this confusion in her voice, and she said, Mr. O'Connor, somehow, I'm not sure how this happened, but your case has been transferred to Florida, so you can go be a part of that ministry. So God showed up above all the laws of New York and superseded the laws of New York and had me come to this place where I needed to get into a true relationship with His Son. I knew about God for so many years, but I never had a true relationship with Jesus, which is what I know is what that's all about now. It's not really the religion, it's the relationship. And I came here, I walked through the infamous double doors of the chapel here in Palmetto in December of 2014, and that night rededicated my life, and actually I think for the first time ever truly gave my life to Christ. And about 18 months into my stay, I clearly heard God speak in my spirit and tell me, you are not going back to New York. You're staying here in Florida, and you're going to give back to this ministry, and you're going to be discipling men like I asked you to do in the Great Commission. So that's what I decided to do. I said, okay, God. And I argued with Him for a little while. I don't suggest you do that, because He won.
It never goes well, does it, Keith? It never goes well.
It never goes well, because you're probably going to, if you're walking in His will, you're not going to win. So I graduated last December 2016, and I decided to stay on His full-time staff, and that's what I do now. I'm serving here as full-time staff, discipling these men and pouring into them what I've been poured into from Christ, and through this leadership here that is just incredible. Gus Cabrera, our program director, and Joseph Hamblin, our executive director, kind of took me under their wing about 2 years ago, and kind of helped me mold and shape me into the leader who I've become today. And we're about character building and integrity building, and it's just an amazing process. And they've actually they're raising me up into now pretty much be the new resident director of this campus here, because they need somebody to help them oversee the men in their daily activities. And it's just an honor. It's an honor and a privilege to be able to serve God. I found my purpose early in life. I didn't know what it was for so many years, and I finally have my purpose now. So.
Great testimony from Keith O'Connor talking about Loving Hands and how it just truly just transformed his life, and what Christ can do through these men and ministering to other men and just showing up in some of the darkest and places of despair. And Keith, we have a couple of activities coming up we want to promote for you guys. I know you guys do a 3-on-3 basketball thing, and there's opportunities if you come out to that to kind of see the campus, find out more about the organization and the facilities. So give everybody an idea what's happening there. I think it's first in February 3rd is Palmetto. Dade City is the 24th, right?
It's actually March.
Okay.
March 24th. Nope, I'm sorry. You are correct. I'm not correct. Sorry. February 3rd is the Palmetto. Yes, it's Palmetto's basketball tournament on the 3rd, 3-on-3, and then Dade City's is on the 24th of February. Sorry about that. But yeah, it's one thing we do once a year. It's a time for people to come and to check out the property, and we have 2 full court basketball courts on the property that the men built themselves throughout the years, and it's just a good time for fellowship and to just to really be surrounded by a bunch of guys who are just filled with Jesus, and to see what it's all about. Because it's amazingly, we don't get everybody come onto the property that day that has Jesus in their life, and for them to be able to see that, in men, to see that it's possible, and to have good, sober, Jesus-filled fun, it's not, it doesn't make sense to some people, but it's one of the best days for someone to come out and see something like that. It's a good time.
So what do people do to get more information about that? Plug the website, registration information for the basketball thing, that sort of stuff.
Yes, most definitely. You go right to our website, lovinghands.net, and if you go under the events tab, you'll see it'll bring you right to where you can check out both of the basketball tournaments for Dade City and Palmetto. You can actually register right online there. And also in March, we have a couple of golf tournaments coming up as well that we do every single year as part of one of our fundraisers. And you can see all the information on there if you decide to maybe help us with that day by sponsoring a hole. It's just something else that we do here to benefit the ministry, being that we're a nonprofit, and we've survived off of the love of the community and the relationships that our founder made after so many years. And God hasn't stopped providing yet, and He's not going to stop now, that's for sure.
Folks, Loving Hands is just truly an extraordinary organization. I believe in just promoting and putting my voice behind things I believe in. I've been a proud supporter of them. I've seen just an incredible transformation in some of these men, just growing, getting to know so many more of them as they've been in the program, and now they're ministering to others. So definitely want you to reach out to them. So stay with us as we head to break. We're going to have more stuff coming back on the backside. We're going to have some fun at the end of the show here, talk about some entertainment. So we have Samson coming out in February. We have God's Not Dead 3 coming out in March. So some more information on that broke this week. We'll be able to give that to you, as well as give you a little bit more on some of the other activities and events in the greater Tampa Bay area and some of their stuff online. So stay with us.